Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know podcast network presents Balls and Brew.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know podcasting network. I am your host. My name is Rod Morgan. This podcast is produced by James Jamriska. He normally joins us as a co-host on this podcast, but Jimmy is absent this week. He has some pressing business with one Jackson Jamriska, and Chris King is with us. Chris, we know one thing: Jackson Jamriska is not to be messed with. So if there was pressing business with one Jackson this evening, Jimmy is excused. Correct?
I also believe a phantom softball practice was also used as part of the excuse this evening. So, phantom March softball practices, apparently.
Well, that's true, but Jimmy did, I guess, put to rest all of the softball conspiracy talk you and I were trying to get started when he just dropped in out of nowhere, voice of God style, a few podcasts back and explained to us the joys of indoor softball. So, yes, Izzy and Jackson, meaning Jimmy, had much more pressing material this evening, so he is absent. But we have somebody returning after a couple of weeks in the tropics. He was down celebrating on the beach, drinking Mai Tais, pina coladas. I'm not entirely sure what our guy Josh Williams gets into when he's on the beach, but the NFL season was over, so he was off for a few weeks, and now he's back to talk about his second favorite thing, March Madness. Our guy, Josh Williams. Josh, hello.
What's up, boys? I wish I was on the beach, man. That would have been awesome. But yeah, this is the best time of the year, March Madness. This is the best tournament in the world. You'll never convince me that it's not. And yeah, man, let's get ready for some March Madness.
Well, listen, hold on. Let's delve into a little bit of your expertise before we do March Madness, because Chris, there was one subject I think that dominated our talk last year more than anything else. And what would you guess that was?
Last year?
Yeah, and our football segments last year. What did we talk about more than anything else? It just got us all fighting more than anything else all year.
I mean, there was only one thing that I can think of, Rod, and that would be one Justin Fields.
Correct. And Chris, we finally have an answer to the Justin Fields situation. He was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers late on a Saturday night for a 6th round pick, which could become a 4th round pick if a few things happen. So, Mr. Williams, I guess we have to say you were correct, because you told all of us that Justin Fields was not a good starting quarterback and that the Bears should move on from him and that people in the league did not like Justin Fields. And ultimately, we played QB carousel and Justin Fields was left as a backup to Russell Wilson. So, Mr. Williams, I guess I have to say you were correct and I was wrong on Justin Fields. And I hate to do this, but you are our football expert, so I guess that's a good thing for the podcast.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I've never seen a player though with like the disconnect between everybody outside the NFL and inside the NFL. So, I mean, I don't know. Was it like 6 weeks ago that where Mel Kiper was saying that, and Mel Kiper's in the NFL. I don't know how inside he is, but he was saying that the Bears are going to trade him for a 1st round draft pick. And I was like, they're not going to get a 1st or 2nd. They'll be lucky to get a 3rd, and let alone they waited way too long. And they got a 6th rounder for next year, not even this year. So, I don't expect it to turn into a 4th either, because I don't see them starting Fields 51% of the time. I mean, I would set the over-under on maybe 3 or 4 games that he starts. I mean, and that's only if the Steelers get off to a terrible start, like 1-5 or something. So, yeah, it's disappointing they didn't get more, but that just shows you what the NFL thinks about him right now.
All right, Chris, I'm still going to be pro Justin Fields because I'm not really a Bears fan and I'm not a Steelers fan, so I have no real skin in this game, but I do love a Tomlin rah-rah spot. I do think it's possible that if we're going to get a great Russell Wilson season again, it's going to be this year to try to prove all the doubters and the haters wrong, right? We all know how professional athletes love that, but I also think that possibility is there for Fields, right? Tomlin is not the kind of coach that wants to lose a lot of games. He doesn't have a bunch of money invested in Russell Wilson. Why not go to Fields week 4 if it's already looking bad for the Steelers? So I think Fields has a chance. Chris, where do you stand on all this?
If Russ somehow falters or gets injured then yeah, I do think Fields has an opportunity there to succeed more than anybody that played for Pittsburgh at the quarterback position last year.
Yeah, that's a fair pick because we saw Kenny Pickett moved on for not much, right? Williams, we've had a lot of quarterback carousel moves here, right? As of right now, we're supposed to believe Minnesota is going to go with Sam Darnold, but they also moved around some things to get an additional second or a first round pick this year. So you got to figure they want a quarterback. Denver still essentially has no starting quarterback, right? I mean, what do you think here, Mr. Williams? Where do you stand on the quarterbacks in the draft? Because those are really the only chips left to fall, right? Who do we got as the top 4 quarterbacks as you see it right now? How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, and before we get to that, let me circle back to the Steelers offensive coordinator.
We're back,
And
baby.
let me tell you, it's not good news for Russ or Justin Fields. You know who their new offensive coordinator is? None other than the bum from Atlanta, Arthur Smith. That's not good news for anybody. And they shipped off Deontay Johnson to Carolina. I was really surprised with that. So maybe there's just some stuff behind the scenes that we didn't know about there. But yeah, it looks like the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams. Looks like Washington could take Jaden Daniels. Looks like the Pats could take Drake May. Minnesota, I think Minnesota's in a total rebuild. Maybe they try to trade up to get McCarthy from Michigan. And then Denver. Okay, so here's my thinking on Denver. They've lost a bunch of draft picks. What I think they should do is trade back to the end of the first round, maybe early second, and take your shot with Michael Penix, man. This guy's got massive upside. I know he's got injury concerns and he's 24 years old, but man, Denver, you don't have much. So why not trade back, try to get some picks, try to recoup some of those picks, and take Michael Penix, man. He's got awesome upside. If it wasn't for the medicals and his age, he'd be a top 3 pick in this year's draft, in my opinion.
Well, if the other member of this podcast is to be believed, Mr. Williams, they're going to have to fight the Colts for the services of Michael Penix, Chris. I guess I should come back to you, though, on the Joe Flacco news. Does that mean now that the Colts probably shouldn't get Michael Penix because they have Joe Flacco?
All I want for Michael Penix is to go to a team where he can succeed. I don't know if Denver's that team. Maybe Sean Payton is supposed to be a great coach, and maybe that's what he's trying to do is dismantle.
Wait a minute. Does winning a Super Bowl count at all for you, Chris? I mean, does the fact that a coach won a Super Bowl mean anything, or is it like, fine, what have you done for me lately on every single coach? Is that how you work?
I mean, I guess in my system that I rate coaches, I guess I would have Sean Payton, maybe even with a Bill Belichick, and you know how I feel about him, all right? So maybe I'll put him there. But I don't know what Denver's going to do. I don't know. They're going to be very lucky if they have an NFL quality team on the field this year.
Williams, what are the possibilities that 37-year-old, I started 71 college football games, Bo Nix actually turns out to be the best quarterback of all these guys?
Yeah, I don't see it. What he did at Oregon was dink and dunk a lot, and he is accurate underneath. But if you watch that Oregon team, they never took shots deep. I mean, ever. So maybe he could succeed in like a Kyle Shanahan type of offense, or Bobby Slowick type of offense, or Ben Johnson type of offense. But other than that, man, I don't really see him. Like, he has to go to the right place to have a career in the NFL. I view him as a maybe a career backup, but there are some people who are super high on him. So yeah, we'll see.
All right, this is the last question I have for you on the draft, guys, because the top 3, whatever, we've heard enough about all of those guys. Why in the world is J.J. McCarthy, a guy that Jim Harbaugh didn't even trust to throw the ball much at Michigan and hasn't started a whole lot of games, how all of a sudden is he the 4th quarterback off the board and a guy maybe that Minnesota is going to shed multiple draft capital to get?
Yeah, I mean, everyone points towards his third down conversion rate, which I get it, and his intangibles. I guess he's awesome in the locker room, a good guy. But Harbaugh was putting him in great situations with the play action. They would run it. They would get in good situations, play action, boot him out. You saw him make a pretty big play in the Alabama game, but really that was like the only play that he made in the national semifinal. But yeah, there are some people who like do not get this at all. They thought that at best he'd be a second rounder, and then he just keeps climbing, keeps climbing, keeps climbing. So he is very polarizing right now. I would say he's the most polarizing quarterback in the draft this year.
And we've seen that go multiple ways recently, right? Josh Allen was that guy, and we've seen where Allen is now a couple of years into his career, right? The Biscuit was that guy, didn't start a whole lot of games, and all of a sudden there he was. Bears were moving up to get him. We all know how well that worked out, right? And then the guy for San Francisco, I can't even think of his stinking name now. He went to Dallas. What was it? Trey Lance. Yeah, you know, and didn't start a whole lot of games. Didn't seem like it worked out great for him. So the draft is always intriguing. We'll get Mr. Williams back to talk a little bit more about the draft, but we just talked about some college quarterbacks. Now let's move over to college basketball. The brackets were revealed on Sunday. Big primetime special there on CBS like it has been for years. And I do not follow college basketball the way that I used to. I had to shed certain things in my life, and I spend a good 9, 10 to 12 hours a week now on wrestling. So college basketball just had to be one of those things that was cut out of my stuff. But luckily, Chris and Mr. Williams will catch me up on all of that stuff. But I was watching for one thing, Mr. Williams, and one thing only. Where would my Indiana State Sycamores, yeah, that's right, I say my, because my late father, Rod Morgan Sr., graduated from Indiana State. All right, I can claim the Sycamores as mine. There's a tie to the Morgan family. And I'm looking for my guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Robbie Avila. Get the Sycamores in. They're nowhere to be found, Mr. Williams. That made me mad, but I know something more important than that probably made you mad about the selection committee. So here, this is a tradition unlike any other, where Williams goes off on the selection committee.
My bad. Yeah, Indiana State was so close, man. They were like 1 or 2 spots away on my predictions for making it. But yeah, I mean the committee, I would grade them just straight ass in this in this selection Sunday. They were terrible. I'll try to be quick here. Miscues by the committee. By the committee. Iowa State. What Iowa State should have been in contention for the overall 4th 1 seed. Instead, they get bumped by Carolina and just put them as the best 2 seed. Instead, they get put in the toughest bracket in the as the worst 2 seed in UConn's bracket, which is absolutely ridiculous. They had more quad 1 wins than Carolina. They had an overall tougher strength of schedule than Carolina. The average number in net for Carolina's losses was 52. Iowa State's was 35. Yeah, that was terrible. Iowa State had a higher in KenPom, Torvik, and the net than Carolina. But other miscues by the committee. Michigan State was 5 games under 500 in the first 2 quadrants. They got a 9 seed. A 9 seed. I mean, they should be playing in the playing game, if that, tonight. Florida Atlantic, I love Florida Atlantic last year. Man, they finished second in their conference in a 2-bid lead with a combined 3 quad 3 and quad 4 losses, and they got an 8 seed. An 8 seed. They were lucky to make the tournament. Dayton's way too high. They should not have been a 7 seed. They were 3 and 4 in quad 1 games. New Mexico's too low. They were 8 and 7 in quad 1 and quad 2. Auburn won the SEC tournament worth absolutely zilch to the committee. Congrats, Bruce Pearl. You get a 4 seed in the most loaded region with number 1 UConn. And oh yeah, if you make it that far, you got to play them in their backyard in Boston. But after all that, the worst thing, in my opinion, the worst thing was how do you have Virginia getting in over St. John's? St. John's KenPom number 26, Virginia 68th. Torvik number, St. John 21st, Virginia 55th. The net number, St. John's 32nd, Virginia 54th. St. John's being left out is egregious. The Big East got 3 teams in, and all 3 of them are top 10 in Torvik, and the committee doesn't take another team from that conference. What are we doing here? Instead, they take a 5th team from the worst ACC conference we've ever seen. And St. John's wasn't even in the Final 4 out of the committee, which is absolutely ridiculous. St. John's had twice the many quad 1 wins as Virginia, and Virginia lost 6 games this year by 19 points or more. Pathetic. They're pathetic. And St. John's was 6 and 1 in the last 7, and that one loss was to the best team in the world right now, UConn, by 5 points. I'm salty because I had a future on St. John's, 100-1. I thought they could have made a run to maybe the Elite Eight. I could have hedged that. Salty, Rod.
Hey, listen, you have the stats, the figures, and the know-how to back that up. So I think that is not only an impassioned argument, but a well-informed one. That is why you are the handicapper. Mr. King, did you have any thoughts big time there about like Carolina, right? Like, how's Carolina a 1 seed? I don't remember hearing any great shakes about them all year, and all of a sudden they're a 1 seed out on the West Coast. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like maybe there's a little bit of bias there. They were a preseason number 1 as well, and they kind of fell off and then worked their way back. I don't know. Some of these people love the ACC. I'm with Williams here. The ACC is not that good this year, and they've been getting worse. It seems like for the last 5 years. So it was really surprising Virginia got in.
I thought the Big East had like disbanded too. I was surprised to hear Williams say that the Big East got all this love. Like, I thought I remember hearing a couple years ago that everybody's like, "Oh God, the Big East is dead." Like, and then it was like reformed as like this kind of like zombie conference. Now all of a sudden it has respect again.
Well, it's basketball only, so like the Big East football disbanded. So that's why Butler and some of these schools that don't have football programs are part of the Big East.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like Butler and Creighton are all in the Big East now. That's right. Okay, yeah, it's this kind of weird conglomerate. But that's my problem. Listen, nobody wants to hear me complain about college sports. We're here to talk about the brackets. All right, let's start with that West bracket. Carolina gets the 1 seed out there in the West. Mr. Williams, do you like any crazy upset there? Who do you like to be in the Sweet 16? So basically, who's going to be the final 4 teams of that particular region? What are your initial thoughts there out in the West?
Yeah, so if you look at this bracket here, I think if you're going to take UConn to win it all, then you're going to have to get different at 3 or 4 spots because UConn's going to be super popular. So what's the best way to do that? The best way to do that is to look out west and just get weird. Just get weird, baby, in the West. Just fly off with some upsets here. Remember, last year we had the weakest region. This is the West this year. The weakest region last year was the East, and we had a 9 versus a 3 to go to the Final Four. A 9 actually made it. And so, in my opinion, Carolina's overrated. Zona's overrated. So you can get real. You can go off the board here in the West and try to pick some upsets. You could possibly start with that second round game between probably Carolina and whoever wins that Michigan State, Mississippi State game, because
wait a minute. Yeah. Whoever wins that game, you're going to tell me that Tom Izzo is going to not win an NCAA tournament game? Come on, he's going to win at least 1 game, isn't he?
That's a tough game to call. I would probably lean that way, but check out this stat. 8 out of the last 10 years, there's been at least 1 8 or 9 seed to make it to the Sweet 16. That is unbelievable because a lot of guys, when they're filling out their bracket, they just move the 1 seeds all the way to the Sweet 16. 8 out of the last 10 years, and it happened twice last year. In the last 10 years, it happened twice last year and in 2018.
Well, Purdue losing to a 16 seed certainly helped that along a little bit last year. Chris, you like how I brought that up again there for you, buddy?
Yeah, I do. And again, Williams is not wrong about this being a bracket to get weird at, all right? Because I'm getting weird in this bracket, all right? I like New Mexico. They got good guard play. You know how I like guards in the NCAA tournament. I got them getting to the Sweet 16 along with a Dayton team getting past a Long Beach State in the second round, actually, because Arizona actually lost to Princeton last year too.
Ooh, Williams, you already threw some shade at the Dayton Flyers, saying that they maybe didn't even deserve to be in. Chris likes them to win. We got beef already.
Yeah, we do. That New Mexico team. Guess who's on that New Mexico team, Rod? Jamal Mashburn's son and Eddie House's son, and they're coached by whose son? Rick Pitino's son, Richard Pitino. Nice. So that team.
You know something funny? If you would have asked me who New Mexico's coach was, I would have guessed Steve Alford. That would have been my guess.
Hey, Steve Alford is the coach at Nevada who's playing against Dayton. And side note, that game is being played in Salt Lake City. And so that's something to to remember because Nevada is used to playing in elevation, and there's a couple other games like that too. Gonzaga and McNeese State is being played in elevation. Gonzaga is used to be playing in elevation.
Did you say Grand Canyon?
I will get to Grand Canyon in a second.
Wait
Yeah.
a minute. Isn't that just an online school? I thought that was just an online school. They have a campus and an actual basketball team?
Yeah, they're in the tournament, and it'll probably be one of the better first round games you can watch against St. Mary's.
Really?
Yes, we'll get that in a second, Rod. The last game I want to talk about with the elevation is Sanford and Kansas. Sanford's top 8 in 3-point field goal percentage. Kansas is 336th in bench points. Sanford top 3 in the bracket in tempo. Why is that important? This game is being played in elevation, Salt Lake City, and it was just announced that Lance McCullers is out for Kansas, and Hunter Dickinson is playing injured with a separated shoulder. So, that is a real interesting game.
That's all well and good, but do you have a stat about Sanford against coaches who wear a toupee? Do you have a stat about Sanford against coaches that wear a toupee?
They're going to get up and down. They're going to get up and down on that court. Getting back to the West, sorry. St. Mary's and Grand Canyon. Remember last year, I had whoever won the 8-9 game in the East between Memphis and Florida Atlantic, I said had a good chance to go to the Final Four. I think, yes, whoever wins the St. Mary's Grand Canyon game is going to win another game versus either Bama or Charleston, and they have a good chance to make a deep run here. This Grand Canyon team, Rod, you got to check up. You got to stay up late on Friday night. Guess who is the coach for Grand Canyon? It's none other than Bryce Drew. These guys do not look like a mid-major program.
Where's the campus? Is the campus actually in the Grand Canyon?
They play all their games in the Grand Canyon. They got to ship teams in. They got to drop them.
Do they come down on mules? Down on mules. That's a real home court advantage.
Listen, man. You're stealing all my thunder. They're the Antelopes, and these fans are awesome for this team. I cannot believe how good these fans are. They're going to travel, and they got this guy. So you could ask me, Josh, who is the most athletic guy in this tournament? It's got to be somebody from North Carolina, right? It's got to be somebody from UConn, right? It's got to be somebody from maybe Tennessee or.
Well, wait a minute. I would have phrased it this way. I would have said, Mr. Williams. Now, first off, I would have called you Mr. Williams and not Josh. And second, I would have said, now that my guy Robbie Avila is not in the tournament, who is the most breakout athlete left?
Yeah, this guy is the most athletic player in the tournament, and he plays for Grand Canyon. His name is Tyon Grant Foster. He's going to be in the NBA. This dude is awesome.
I'm in. Give me more 3 name dudes. Sharif Abdur-Rahim, he was awesome. Give me 3 name dudes. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, come on.
This guy can jump out of the building. And it pains me. This is another thing that I hate about the committee because I love this St. Mary's team. In the last 2 months, they're top 10 in Torvik. This team is awesome. They beat Gonzaga 2 times this year. They've lost once since December 15th. And I hate that St. Mary's is going up against Grand Canyon. This is an awesome, awesome game. You got to sit late and watch it on Friday night.
There we go. Grand Canyon, St. Mary's. That's the must-watch game on Friday night. Sounds like it's going to be late, so Friday night SmackDown will be over. I'll be able to flip over and check that game out. Chris, let's move on to the Midwest, and let's let you start here because your team that you love to hate, your team that you revel in their misery is once again a number 1 seed in the NCCA tournament. Once again, Zach Edey is oafing around the court and scoring many points for the Boilermakers. Chris, your thoughts?
It's unfair for me to root for them to lose as a number 1 seed again. I don't think it'll happen. All I can pray for, Rod, is they don't follow in Virginia's footsteps, where when you lose as a number 1 seed, you turn around and win the next year. That's what I don't want to happen. And to be honest, with the bracket they're in, I'm not scared by a lot of those teams. Not really. Like you have Tennessee, Creighton, Kansas, Gonzaga. I don't
A
know.
lot of those names, like to a guy like me, right, who's basically just like rando dude in your office now, like that's basically my level of college basketball knowledge. A lot of those sound like great teams to me. Like Creighton, they do pretty well sometimes. Kansas, they've won national championships before. So like I'm scared by the names, but you're telling me the teams really aren't that good, huh?
Well, I tell you what, all those teams that I just mentioned can also all get beat on just about any given night. Indiana had Kansas beat, but for the last 4 minutes.
Indiana didn't make the tournament, right? I'm pretty sure Indiana
Yeah,
did not. Yeah.
no, or the NIT.
Is that guy Archie Miller coaching anywhere? That dude that we ran out of town, is he back at Dayton? Where's that dude coaching?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, of course. They probably love his little mean dude self up there at Rhode Island. They probably love it. Those East Coasters probably eat it up.
He looks like he's from Rhode Island.
All right, Williams, your thoughts on the Midwest there? Are the Boilermakers unfortunately going to roll, or do you like somebody to make Chris and I happy?
Well, they did get a favorable draw, I believe, especially now that Kansas is going to be without McCullers. They could potentially, and remember, the first two games for Purdue are in Indy, and the second two, if they make it that far,
Yeah, that's fine. Listen, people like to act like there's Purdue fans in Indy, but there's not really that many Purdue fans in Indy, right? There just isn't. I'm sorry, there just isn't. You run around and people like you see just as many Ball State people in Indy as you do Purdue. All right, like let's just be honest about this.
Yeah, people aren't flying Purdue flags outside their house in Indy.
and this, if they make it, the second two games after Indy are in Detroit, so there's really not that much travel for Purdue. And they've already beat two of the best teams in this region already this year out in Maui. They beat Gonzaga and Tennessee. Yeah, I think this is kind of a chalky region here. I would not be surprised if Purdue, Tennessee, and Creighton all make it to the Final Four of that bracket.
All right, there we go. Sounds pretty chalky there. Let's speaking of chalk, let's go to the defending champions, the best team in college basketball. We heard Mr. Williams say already, those UConn Huskies, #1 seed. Mr. Williams, what does it look like their path is going to be?
Well, they got the toughest region, which does not make any sense to me at all. But again, like Purdue, actually even worse than Purdue, they have a better draw with the sites where they're playing at, because at first they play in Brooklyn, and then if they win those two games, then they play in their backyard in Boston. So that's tough for anybody who is going to try and take them down. I've heard that Auburn is a trendy pick because people just want to try and get different and try not to pick UConn to win it all. The problem with Auburn, though, is that they did all their damage at home this year, and they only have 2 or 3 quad one wins. And when you get them away from home, they didn't beat anybody with a pulse this year. So I just feel like UConn's got too much for them. In the bottom half of the bracket, Illinois is always disappoints. And Iowa State has looked awesome lately, but I'll give you this crazy stat. There's been, I think, 38 instances of a team not being ranked in the preseason and then getting either a 1 or 2 seed. Those teams are 0-38 making it to the Final Four. So you want to try and get different in the East, but it's just, I mean, I just don't see any way where UConn doesn't get out of there, especially playing in Brooklyn and Boston.
All right, Chris, your thoughts there about UConn and their bracket?
I agree with a lot. Like it's the only thing I would say if I was a UConn fan. You don't want to play Northwestern in that second round. All right. I have seen Northwestern play a few times this year. They are battle tested in the Big Ten. They are a tough team. They play defense. They don't turn the ball over, and they can shoot the three at almost a 40% clip. That's a pretty dangerous team to face off in the tournament, especially within just a day's notice, essentially.
Northwestern Wildcats. That sounds wild to say winning NCAA tournament games, considering a few years back they hadn't even been in. Mr. Williams, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I would like Northwestern more if they didn't lose Ty Berry. and Matthew Nicholson. So there's so much on Boo Booey's shoulders. That's a name for you, Rod. That's one of the best names in the tournament, Boo Booey.
Is that guy in Count Chocula, or is he a basketball player? What's happening with this guy?
He's fantastic for Northwestern, man.
One of the most fun players to watch from the Big Ten.
All right, Boo Booey. Boo Booey's on my list, and then I got to watch my guys Grand Canyon.
I got one more thing here. This is the feel-good story in this region, or it takes place in this region. And you'll like this, Rob, because they play against.
So what you're saying, this will be like the Tracy Wolfson interview, right? Where she's going to sit down with this guy, and they'll have like the cello music at some point playing, right? When they show a montage about something.
It could be. It could be. There's a guy by the name of Miles Rice who plays for Washington State. They're in the 7-10 game down there at the bottom half of the bracket. He's recovered from Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's the second leading scorer on the team, first in assists, first in steals. Their best player is a transfer from Sedona State, believe it or not. And wouldn't it be fitting that the last year that there is a Pac-12 existence, that the team that they left behind, the Pac-12, everybody going to the Big Ten, everybody going to the ACC, everybody going to everywhere else, the team that they left behind, Washington State, wouldn't it be fun if they were the last Pac-12 team standing in this tournament? And, Rod, you're going to like this. They play against your arch nemesis now in Drake. Drake is the team who took out your Indiana State. So now you have an even more of a hatred towards Drake. I hate the Drake. Hate the Drake.
I was about to say the same thing. Down with the Drake.
So the feel good story there is Washington State Drake. That should be an awesome game. Drake's got an awesome guy. Tucker DeVries actually won Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. He's a bucket getter, man. Coach's son.
Well, you know what? That's what that guy's going to be doing. He's going to be balling out to win the NCAA championship, because that guy doesn't need to go to the pros, because he has, of course, the DeVry family fortune on his side, right? The technical school where we can all study an auto mechanic, right? Remember those? You'd be watching Saved by the Bell on TBS, and all of a sudden the commercial would roll in. Hey, you don't have to go to college. You could study to be an auto mechanic today. And I'd be like, I can do that today? What about math? You guys going to still teach me that too? Or is it just catalytic converters? Can you tell I don't know anything about college basketball, that I was just thinking about that and not anything about these teams? Can you tell?
You brought up catalytic converters, Rod.
I know. Listen, I can pull things out of the recesses of this mind. Don't bullshit a bullshitter, all right? Don't bullshit a bullshitter. Here's the thing that I have trouble with here, Chris, all right? Kelvin Sampson, okay? He was the coach of Indiana, and text messages and all that aside, like cheating in college basketball, like so much that's been thrown out the window by what they're allowed to do now. I'm not even going to bash Kelvin Sampson for that. But what I will say is, all that stuff aside, he didn't seem like that great of a coach to me, right? Like the Indiana teams that he coached on the floor didn't seem that great. He's in the NBA just as a run-of-the-mill assistant coach for a while. Now all of a sudden he's in Houston. In the last couple of years, they've been a powerhouse. Like, what am I missing here?
He is a great talent acquisition resource coach. I mean, he gets talent to come play. I mean, he did it when he was at IU. He got Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon was what would you consider Eric Gordon's NBA career, Rod? I mean, it's not quite Hall of Fame worthy, but
no, he's the Hall of Very Good, right? Ryan Masillo talks about this an awful lot. He's the Hall of Very Good. But you might be wrong, Chris, because in the NBA, a lot of guys make the Hall of Fame. Let's not forget Mitch Richmond is in the Hall of Fame, all right? So Eric Gordon has just as much chance if Mitch Richmond is in.
True. But really, this is Houston's bracket to lose too. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm not rooting for Kelvin Sampson to have success, because I do have a sour taste in my mouth from him. But this is Houston's bracket to lose. I do like James Madison. If you're looking at for an upset against Wisconsin, I think they match up well against Wisconsin. I think Duke may have a tough time against Vermont. And we just watched North Carolina State win their get all the way to the ACC finals, so they're a dangerous team now too.
Is Baylor in this region? We haven't heard anybody say the name of Baylor. I thought they were a pretty good college basketball team these days with the other Drew boy running them.
They're out west.
Yeah, they're with North Carolina.
All right. Williams, what are your thoughts on Houston's bracket here?
Yeah, Houston, I agree, did get a favorable draw. I think they actually punted on that Big 12 conference championship game against Iowa State. Once Roberts got hurt like a little bit more. I think they're just like, we already got a 1 seed. Let's just punt here. And so it makes it look worse. So I think that you can actually get value here with Houston. They're a tenacious defensive team. And getting back to Kelvin Sampson, man, it is so sad because he took Oklahoma to the Final Four. He took Houston to the Final Four. They have a legit chance to win the championship this year. I got to believe that he would have took IU to the Final Four. But yeah, this region here on the bottom half, there's some injuries that you need to know. Florida's center just had a gruesome injury. Bone came out of his shin, like it broke through the skin. It was terrible. So you may want to look at whoever wins that Boise State Colorado game to upset Florida. And by the way, Colorado has 3 future pros on that team. So I know they underachieved during the regular season, but that is a dangerous team. And Marquette, Tyler Kolek has been battling an injury, an oblique injury for the last seems like month. So if he's healthy, Marquette can make a run here. If not, I don't think so. So those are just a few injuries to keep a note of. Chris, I wanted to take James Madison over Wisconsin, but it feels like that is the trendiest 5-12 game, and I just don't want to be super trendy there.
I will always root for bad things for the Badgers because of all the times Bo Ryan spoiled my friggin' fun with the Hoosiers, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along here and finish up college basketball this way. Chris, who do you got showing up in Phoenix to be part of the Final Four?
Oh, I'm gonna stick with Houston, and UConn. I think those are 2 number 1 seeds that are going to get there. I don't think North Carolina or Purdue. So out west, I am going to go out on a limb and get a little bit crazy. And I will say New Mexico for no other reason because I want to. And then we'll just go ahead and give Tennessee a shot from the Midwest there.
Tennessee. Lord, I've really been okay. I'm sorry, went a little Arrested Development for you there, Mr. Williams. Who do you have showing up in Phoenix?
Yeah, I also agree with Chris with UConn and Houston. And quick side story here. Before the season started, we haven't had a back-to-back National Player of the Year since 1983, Ralph Sampson. Who won it last year? Zach Edey. So I'm thinking, all right, they're not going to give it to Edey, or maybe he'll just fall off a little bit. So in the middle of December, I took 140 to 1 odds on this Northern Colorado transfer that plays for Tennessee. His name is Dalton Connect. And if you have not seen him play this year, he is awesome. But I think he's going to finish second in the National Player of the Year to Zach Edey. So my ticket is up in flames there. But he is a bucket getter. He is fantastic. I think Tennessee avenges that earlier season loss to Purdue in the Elite Eight. So I have 3 the same with Chris: UConn, Houston, Tennessee, and the West. The West, let's get wacky. I think if you pick UConn to win it all, then you have to get a little crazy. Go Grand Canyon. If you don't pick UConn to win it all, then you don't have to get as crazy. But I'm still getting a little crazy. I'm going St. Mary's. I honestly think those 2 teams, whoever wins that game, can, just like Memphis and Florida Atlantic last year, they can get to the Final Four. That's how open the West is. We might as well take a shot in the West and get a little crazy.
See, Williams, you got there before I could. I actually literally submitted an online application to Grand Canyon University while we were recording the podcast here. So now I can officially say that I am a student of Grand Canyon University. Wonderful. Huzzah for me. So I'm going to root for my boys to make it all the way and cut down the net. So give me Grand Canyon as my national champion. I'm on the books as the Grand Canyon guy, not you, Mr. Williams. I was there before you. It's down on audio now. Chris, who do you got winning it all?
I'm gonna say UConn becomes back-to-back.
UConn back-to-backs it just like Billy Donovan and those Gators. Williams, what do you got?
All right. I think that if you're in a bracket of like over 100 people, I don't think you can take UConn because you're going to have to be perfect almost everywhere else. So I think you're going to be able to create massive leverage if you don't take UConn. You need less things to go right. So that's a little strategy tip there. So I'm in a bracket with over 1,000 people. I'm probably not going to take UConn to win it all. I'm probably going to end up going with Houston, but there's probably a better than 50-50 chance that UConn does win it all. But I'll go with Houston for namesake.
There we go. There is a better than 50-50 chance we get Williams back here in a couple more weeks when he's got a little bit more draft intel, when perhaps we have seen a few more things clarify. So, Mr. Williams, thanks for coming on. And I think the listeners could tell your excitement level there. You tell them all the time, you threaten them that you maybe love college basketball more than football at certain periods. And I think they could hear the excitement in your voice. So thank you, my friend.
No problem, man. I love some college basketball. We got to get IU back in there next year.
All right. Well, you know what? I love me some basketball, but I love basketball where it is professional basketball and they play 82 games a year and the playoffs are about to be upon us. Even though Jimmy is not here to be the host, Chris and I are going to run the fast break. Jimmy, hit the sound effect now. All right. We are going to run the fast break without Jimmy. Chris and I believe we call it the pick and roll. We just take turns picking and rolling off of one another. So I will throw it out to Chris. Chris, did we see the dunk of the year in the NBA last night when on March 18th, 2024, we saw the death of John Collins of the Utah Jazz when Anthony Edwards went up about 11.9 feet into the air? Shout out to the number one fan of this podcast, Corey Nance, for sending that stat along to me before we recorded and threw it down over him last night. Chris, your thoughts?
At minimum, Rod, what we saw was the dunk of this decade. At minimum. And it's possible we saw the most aggressive dunk in the past, well, of this millennia, let's call it. All right. I mean, as far as like aggressiveness and just viciousness and like the amount of force and just energy being transferred from Edwards to Collins and then himself. I mean, you knocked two people out of the game for a while. I mean, you dislocated yourself. You knocked him out of the game. It was insane and a great thing for the NBA, unfortunately.
Two things. All right. Two things. One, I thought a little bit about Sean Kemp, right? Because Sean Kemp, not necessarily like the nimble get up as high as Anthony Edwards, but anytime Sean Kemp threw it down on somebody, there was violence behind it. You know what I mean? The Rain Man was bringing it with power. He was lurching over him, right? Kind of with his crotch exposed a little bit towards him. You know what I mean? Like the Rain Man was letting you know anytime he put one down over you. And Anthony Edwards, had he not dislocated his finger, like you said, Chris, smacking John Collins in the eye and giving him a concussion because of the force behind the smack in the eye, like you said there, he would have been celebrating crazily. NBA Twitter lit up. You could see the bench go crazy. It was just one of those plays that was amazing. And the last thing I want to say about it, Chris, is this is why I watch basketball. You and I will field questions from time to time. Why do you guys like the NBA so much? How can you follow it? They don't play defense, too many regular season games, all games are fixed, all of this crap that we hear, right? And then a moment like that happens last night, and you're like, this is why. This is it right here. I got to show my wife. I got to show my 12-year-old son. I got to immediately text you guys and see who was watching it. This is what we watch the NBA for, Chris.
You're not wrong, Rod. And for those of you out there that are more college fans like me and Mr. Williams, who just left us, you can go here and watch something like another fantastic dunk from two rookies. One who played right down the road from me at IU, Trace Jackson Davis, just taking it to Victor Wembanyama, the rookie of the year, future Hall of Famer at this rate, right? So like you can see greatness not just from MVP like players like Edwards, but even the people you just got done seeing in college.
Not 15 minutes after Ant absolutely evaporated John Collins, Jalen Big Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks basically jumped over Austin Reeves for the first points of the game in the Hawks Lakers game. I mean, it's insane the athleticism that's on display at times.
Yeah, yeah. It's getting crazy, and then you have. Let's talk about a guy that doesn't get a lot of publicity, and I know you like this team right now. I'm going to go to the Pelicans and Trey Murphy the third. All right, here's a guy that could literally win the 3-point contest and the slam dunk contest at the same time.
He's really the swing man for New Orleans, right? Because you got to have Ingram scoring points, and you got to have Zion being Zion, and that's a deep little sidebar for the Pelicans, right? A couple years ago, we were all told Zion was going to transform the league, right? And then kind of things didn't work out well for him. We got a slow start, but man, he's looking like the guy that was promised right now. I think the Pelicans are the second best team in the West, Chris. I really do. Or maybe not the second best team, but they're the best of the second group, right? I know the Lakers have the experience, and I always talk about LeBron, but they're in the play-in, right? Like they're at risk of, if they lose one game, they're completely out of the playoffs. Warriors are in the same boat. Phoenix can never get on the court together. Clippers are faltering, right? So I look there in the middle of the West. I can't trust the Kings. I know that hurts you. I know that hurts
So
you.
so the Pelicans are a half game behind the Clippers, so you have them above the Clippers. So
Absolutely.
that's where you have you have the Thunder, the Wolves, and the Nuggets as the top tier of the West right now.
Absolutely. I think, yes, there you go. That's a good way of putting it, the tier. So if I did my own Rod's hierarchy of the West, I would have the Pelicans at the beginning of the second hierarchy and not the top three spots.
Yeah, yeah. I can't disagree with you, especially the way they're playing now. And Zion's playing better, but like, listen, they've won 3 in a row. They've won 8 out of their last 10. All right, so they are winning when it counts, and they are moving up that playoff. They're fifth right now. They're half a game from fourth.
They certainly are. They certainly are. Another team that seems to be getting hot at the right time, that seems to be getting sort of healthy, other than your guy, Chris. And I'll just throw the question to you this way. How worried are you about your guy, Julius Randle, maybe not taking the court again for the Knicks? We're not getting great news about his shoulder.
I am torn because I'm a selfish fantasy player, Rod. All right, I've had Julius Randle on my fantasy squad for a long time. He has been the anchor of my squad because of how cheap he's been and how reliable he is. And now Tibbs has just drove him into the ground, and now he's finally injured. And for the Knicks, I hope he's able to come back by the time the playoffs hit. If and you're not wrong, if OG can stay healthy and they get a couple other pieces back, this team can compete for that 3 and 4 seed in the East and have a first round at minimum home series. Uh, that being said, I really hope Randall comes back next week because that's when fantasy playoffs start.
I hope that works out for you, Chris. I hope that works out for you. Fantasy playoffs are just around the corner. The Mishawaka Malcontents are rounding into form. The McCrackens, excuse me, the Malcontents is my football team. The McCrackens are rounding into form. We'll update you guys on the fantasy playoffs as we go along. Chris, I talk many times on this podcast about my growth and about how I have to admit when I am wrong. And you in the wins pool, which we will not be mentioning, but let's be honest, Jimmy is absolutely smashing us. Congratulations to you, Jimmy, once again on the wins pool. But you took the Dallas Mavericks. I laughed at you. I said the Mavericks were going to flame out. They were going to not make the playoffs, and that the player not to be spoken about would cause all types of trouble. And I got to admit when I'm wrong. Kyrie has basically played this year. The Mavericks have been pretty darn good. And we talked about some amazing dunks at the beginning of the fast break segment here. But that lefty hook over Jokic to win the game that Kyrie hit, I got to give the man props when he does something like that, Chris. I have to. I'm a big enough man to do that.
And he's done everything you've ever really wanted him to do, Rod, right? You don't hear about him outside of his play on the court, right? So he's not out running his mouth making dumb comments like the earth is flat or crazy stuff. So he's out there doing what we all knew he had the talent to do, and it's working out. and it helps, right? It helps when you have a guy that can go out and just rattle off 6 30-point triple doubles in a row on your team. That takes quite a bit of pressure off, and I think Kyrie knows how to play with somebody of that caliber.
Yeah, we talk about like role players, how they can like create off of mismatches, right? And second side creators, you hear that term an awful lot thrown around about guys. Kyrie's the best second side creator in the entire world, right? Because on a lot of teams, he'd be the initial guy having the ball in his hands the whole time. But on the Mavericks, he's the guy that's got to be like, hey, I know, Kyrie, you were Uncle Drew and you can do a lot of cool things with the basketball, but this dude Luke over here, all right, he can cook anybody at any time. So you got to just kind of wait your turn.
At half the speed, you can do it, Kyrie.
Yeah, exactly. And because he could do it at half the speed, he's a hell of a lot more durable, right? We always hear about Lucas sort of being banged up, but dude just always takes the court, right? Like yesterday was a day off for the Mavericks, and he was listed as day to day because he's on my fantasy team. Shout out, more fantasy talk here. And then today was actually a Mavericks game day. Lucas not day to day, he's questionable and in, right? You know what I mean? It's like Lucas always just gonna play because, like you said, he ain't moving fast out there, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, but the Mavericks have it tough. I mean, they're in the 7th spot right now, so they're in a play-in situation. And you have teams like the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Clippers in front of you. That's not necessarily easy hill to climb.
All right, let's you ask me one more question here, set one more pick, and then we'll get into Rod Nation in the hierarchy and close this thing out.
All right, Rod. This is maybe teasing a part of my hierarchy, but there is a team that was in contention until just recently to actually get in the play-in game on the East. Now I know this is the East. We didn't want to talk too much, and this is low end, but like, what are the Nets doing now? I mean, they've fallen behind the Hawks. The Hawks play a little bit better, but like, we're talking about the Hawks and the Nets. The Nets are outside of that play-in game now. Is there any hope for them, or do we see essentially the Nets, Raptors, they're gone, and we see the East set like how it is?
Here's the thing that I love about the Nets, right? And it's just like a weird sort of thinking about it as a guy who plays a little bit of 2K and is a GM on 2K, right? The Nets are in the weirdest situation ever, right? You know you need to rebuild, okay? You want to have some sort of a foundation for that rebuild, but the best player and most expensive contract, well, actually the best player on the Nets is a third guy at best, right? Mikal Bridges. Shout out, Mikal. We love you. You know what I mean? Like if you're the third guy on a team, a la when you were behind Ayton and Chris Paul and made that run in Phoenix to the finals, worked out pretty well for you there. And then your most highly paid player is a dude who never plays, right? You'd think that at least the benefit from those two things would be you losing ball games would get you a high draft pick. But that's not the situation the Nets are in because they traded all their draft picks away to get James Harden, who's no longer on the Nets. But you did recoup a few picks when you traded James Harden to the 76ers, who don't have James Harden anymore, but that's a story for another time. So you have draft picks, but they're other teams' draft picks. So your losing doesn't benefit you. So you almost need to try to win to attract a few free agents and then worry about other teams losing. It's like the weirdest way to try to rebuild in the entire NBA. So you're completely right for pointing out like what exactly is happening for Brooklyn, because no one even cares that they're in Brooklyn. People forget sometimes and still say New Jersey. I probably did it 3 or 4 times this year.
Cue the music, Jimmy.
We have to do something about this situation. The momentum is dying. I don't understand no more distractions, but I do believe we should all follow one path in life. Hubris and ego and pride. Sorry, all that was a complete lie. All right, this one's short, sweet, and to the point. DeAndre Ayton, who I just shouted out your glory days when you played well for the Suns in the finals. Recently, an interview came out, my man, where it's not the best of days for you. You said you're playing better recently because you finally got a mattress and were no longer sleeping on an air mattress. DeAndre, my guy, what are we talking about? There's no scenario that exists in the world for anyone to be on an air mattress for longer than 48 hours. If you have to stay on an air mattress for longer than 48 hours, something has gone severely wrong in your life. You've been thrown out of the house by your wife. You guys had some sort of a fire and you have to stay on an air mattress. you went and booked a vacation that turned out to be from hell, and now all you have to stay on is an air mattress. There's no scenario where you choose to be on an air mattress for multiple nights, let alone when you are nearly 7 foot tall. And one of the prime things you can do for your profession is be properly rested so your body performs at its highest function later in the evening, requiring naps. Chris, DeAndre Ayton was sleeping on an air mattress for most of the season. How in the world can you defend that as a highly paid adult?
Okay, so for one, I have some questions. One, I understand that it may be difficult for a person of 7 foot tall to find a size mattress that is suitable, but if it's that difficult to find a real mattress that size, it's got to be more difficult to find an air mattress that size. So if you worked that hard to find an Alaskan King air mattress, you should have been able to find an Alaskan King regular mattress. So
And
you have no excuse, DeAndre Ayton.
And even again, if we're being generous to DeAndre here, right? I understand that you used to be in Phoenix and then you got shipped out to Phoenix and Portland right as training camp's getting ready to start. Fine. But you had the beginning of the year. Hell, you had the All-Star break. Portland wasn't sending anybody
Did he
the
have a
All-Star break.
mattress last year, Rod?
He must have in Phoenix. That's what I mean.
You
couldn't
can't pay someone to ship that mattress across the country or something.
Chris, this is also the same guy who literally couldn't make it to a game earlier this year when an ice storm made it impossible for him to leave his domicile and get to the arena. So I'm not sure how much DeAndre Ayton wants to play basketball.
Let's go to the hierarchy.
Let's do that. Jimmy, play the trumpets and cue Mike Breen.
For the win.
Thank you, Rod. I'm so happy that you did a lot of my work for me today. We've already discussed the Jester. It's the Nets for all the reasons that you mentioned earlier.
Nice. I love it. I love it. We're going to help a teammate out. Who do we got at the top of the list?
It's Boston, okay? All right?
Damn
You've
right.
already secured a playoff spot, all right?
Shout out Sam Hauser. 10 3-pointers the other night for my guy.
Yeah. I was going to bring him up for you, all right? You've won, what, a 6 in a row again?
Mhm.
So you're right back where you almost left off when you were winning 11 in a row.
We have trouble with the Nuggets, but that's fine. We're not going to have to beat them for an NBA championship. Oh, no, wait, we are.
Yeah, okay, but like a 7-game series is completely different.
Oh, no, I haven't given up. All
right, yeah.
We're the Kings, damn it. That's what I can say to all you people out in Denver that happen to be listening to our podcast, and bless you. But we're the Kings, Hardwood Hierarchy Kings, so many times this year. We are the Kings, Hardwood Hierarchy King. King.
I'm going to keep the Thunder as the queen right now. They keep winning and staying ahead of two teams that are playing very well. And the Timberwolves are playing very well without Karl Anthony Towns. That's why they're the Prince.
Can you say Ewing theory, Chris? Can you say Ewing theory about Minnesota? Like maybe shipping Karl Anthony Towns out of town for a few other assets might be better for Minnesota in the long run, Chris, maybe?
I mean, they weren't that bad when he was on the squad, Rod. They were in first for a long time, and they haven't fell off, but like they haven't increased either. Okay, so let's not get too carried away.
I apologize to the gentle Bahamian Karl Anthony Towns.
You got to give them credit though. They have what Minnesota's been able to do this year is something no one thought they could. Getting Towns and Gobert to play together while you're letting Anthony Edwards shine.
And shine he has, my friend. Who is just outside of the top 2 spots?
I'm going to give it to Denver. All right.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, they have turned it on as of late, showing people why they're the champions and why they can essentially just do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it.
Well, we got a big game going on between Minnesota and Denver right now. So Chris and I are going to end this podcast and catch the end of that. If you noticed, no, Yeah, we know in the ring with Jimmy, Rod, and Chris this week. That is all right. We got plenty of time to still get caught up on all the things that are happening before WrestleMania. So we will be back with a vengeance next week, right, Chris?
It is a long road to WrestleMania. There are plenty of stops that we still have to make. So there is still a lot to be determined before we get to that big weekend in April.
And I also
Right before the eclipse, too.
That's right. That's right. And I also don't think people really wanted us to hear talking about The Rock singing a song, because that was basically the biggest thing that happened in wrestling. And so we don't even need to go into that, because we're not doing Yeah We Know this week. But keep your eye on this very feed that you're listening to right now. We appreciate it. Hey, if you're listening still, that means you're a true fan of this podcast. Give us a comment, please. It helps us tremendously. Throw it up on Spotify, throw it up on iTunes, Google, wherever you're on YouTube, right? However you're listening to it, give us a comment. It helps the podcast tremendously. We appreciate it. Jimmy appreciates it. I appreciate it. Chris appreciates it. I'm fumbling my words. Chris, get us out of here.
Goodbye, Internet.